Yeah, I don't know if you know that I've gone through the potentiation, the first round of the entire. Can you give us a kind of a structure of what comes first, potentiation, and then articulation, and there's different ones from there?
Yeah, the model that we're following is that you have essentially four primary subtle bodies, and they're the physical one. Even though it's called the physical, it's the energy component of the physical body. And I realize that everything is ultimately energy, but just bear with me. So you have the physical subtle body, and then you have the mental subtle body, the emotional subtle body, and the spiritual subtle body. And sort of as you go that way, it's like you're getting into subtler and subtler energies as you approach source, as you approach the font of our being.
Mm,
So we developed a way of tracking back through to the ultimate source of one's creations, which really begins in the spiritual body, that spark of our divine selves. So you start with potentiation, and then you move to that's a works sort of at the level of the physical subtle body, though it can go deeper in many ways, meaning it can have other mental and spiritual effects or
mm.
emotional effects, but it's focused in a certain area. And then you go to articulation, which it centers on the mental body. Then elucidation is the emotional body, and transcension is the spiritual body.
Yeah, I'll tell you, for me, this first period, I'm right up to the point where I'm eligible for articulation. And so for me, I've gone from this place of, in last year, about December, where I had a lot of, strong desires, things I wanted to accomplish in this world. And then I was drawn to your work through the podcast and went through and devoured the books. Um, and at this point, it's pretty on point as far as the the benefits, I guess you describe them as, like, in your life, the way that I'm able to kind of start manifesting things differently and kind of putting together my business and my ideas and just my all around life. My relationships have kind of grown in a different way and for the better. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. Do you get a lot of stories from people that having similar results?
Oh yeah, I mean it's completely out of control. I mean we've pretty much stopped posting testimonials on our website or anywhere because there's just been so many. They just come in all the time. So, I mean it is amazing. It really is, and we're really grateful to to have the support that we've had, and also to be able to give back in the way that we've been able to give back. And we don't really think we call ourselves developers, not not necessarily creators. In some ways it
Uh-huh.
just felt like the work came through us. I'm also of the opinion that ultimately we are source. So at some point in time identity dissolves into that ultimate creator. But if you want to think of yourself as in some ways separate from that, then we had the experience of sort of bringing through this work from somewhere else. So
Uh,
we've just been sort of faithful servants to the work in that way, and teaching people how to do it for themselves. That's also been really cool to see people just learn how to do it and then start doing it for their families or their friends or their dogs or their gardens or whatever, and then seeing all
yeah.
this crazy stuff happen. I mean, crazy in a positive way. Like, my God,
Yeah.
how is that even occurring?
Yeah, I found that for myself, and you described it in your book several ways that people tend to want to stack things on top of it and try to, oh, I should do this, or I should do this extra cleansing, or I should do this extra program. And I found that have a similar experience. I tried to, curb it to a certain degree where I go, okay, do I just need to be patient and go through this process, or is source kind of telling me, is God kind of telling me to take on this course or take on this new project? And yeah, so it's been quite a ride of just kind of self-empowerment. How do you see the community of people, or people who have gone through this whole process and are evolved, or more in connection with source? How do you see that community of of people? What's your vision of people living together with this technology?
I don't know. I think, if anything, it's been difficult to bring people together with this work. It's been like herding frogs, and we stopped trying to do it
Mm,
for a long time ago. We just stopped even attempting to build anything other than a support network through it, because there's this phenomenon where people graduate from the work, if you will. They go through it, and a lot has changed very often, and they become a lot more empowered, and they're off on their path, and they might even forget they even did the work.
mm,
You
yeah.
know, and so this is the last thing they're thinking about, and honestly, that's the way it should be. I mean,
Mm,
if people are constantly thinking about this healing work that maybe helped them, then maybe they're not healed, you know? But if they're not, they're probably in a very good place. So I think I see it actually as a good sign. For a while there, it was frustrating because I was kind of into the community concept, but really what I see this doing is creating a bunch of like staunch individualists and people with a lot of kundalini and creative power who, they want to do their own thing.
mm, interesting. I I also have seen you connected with Mike Winner, and you were on the event, and that community that's forming around homesteading and homeschooling your kids, and yeah, this independence. I think there's just a large amount of people that are wanting to create off-grid living. Seems like you're connected to that. Are you into that and gardening and see that as a potential future for people?
Yeah, I mean, I've always actually been into that. I mean, one of the first journalism articles I ever wrote was on CSAs, community supported agriculture,
Mm,
long time ago. But so it's always been something I've been interested in, and I've gone in and out of intentional communities, for my entire adult life. Mostly I think they don't work, and I think there's been so many political divides in recent years that I don't want anything to do with most of them, frankly. But I'm willing to, eat my words if something were to come along that really was doing it the right way. And for me, the right way is really, first of all, respecting this idea that people are sovereign beings and they can do what they want to. I mean, one of the reasons I don't really gravitate to things like Burning Man and that kind of thing is that there's just too many damn rules about
mhm.
everything. And I don't like any of that. I don't want anything to do with it. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I currently live on my day job is managing a organic pasture-based farm in Oregon, and we have kind of a community. But yeah, there's always this, what is the best model of living together, and who's in control is kind of the our how do we live without like one leader? Do we have one leader? Yeah, it's kind of this constant flux of how to do it best. But
Yeah,
I
I
do,
know. I've been
yeah.
there, and done that a lot, and have had some really positive experiences. I mean, I've lived years of my life in these types of places, so I know from experience, what it can be like, and I know some of the highs, and I also know some of the lows with that
Yeah.
experience. I think going
I,
through the genetics process and getting kind of spit out on the other side, it's just it's give me liberty or give me death. I mean, that's pretty much where I am, and I think that we have to learn, if we're ever going to do anything in a sustainable, in a community way, you start with this sovereign, and that they're coming together of their own free will, and you have to figure out ways to respect, how that works, and to make it work, because I don't think there's an easy model that I've ever seen for making that happen.